Hey guys, Verbal Legend 95, recording live from your low county prison cell. So Bardock and Omni-Man was yesterday, and they revealed the new episode is Joker versus Giorno. Can't wait. Great, one we've been asking for a very long time. I am not going to be talking about it because I have made the decision that I will not be doing predictions on this channel anymore. Prediction videos historically have been my most successful ones, but they've honestly taken a pretty huge dip recently, and they're not really worth doing as much as any of this is really worth doing. And it's not really fun. It's not really as fun to do, unless unless I really enjoy the fight. Then it's like, oh, that's really cool. But no, I think I'd rather just, I was deleting them after 2 years for relevancy, but honestly, I think it's just better that I probably just delete them all and then just don't do them. So today we're going to be doing a completely different fight, and it's actually going to be a fight that's sort of in touch with the seasons, and it's actually topical to new releases. This fight is going to be Grimm from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Beetlejuice from Beetlejuice. This is really, really tough to do, this fight. On one hand, these two are characters that can pretty much do anything. They don't really have any defined limitations. Or rather, they don't really have a specific list of things that they can do. So it is kind of just going through the details and the criteria and seeing how that's going to interact with each other. Because both of these characters, are all powerful magical beings who can, do anything from, transmodification, transfiguration, teleportation, reality warping to a degree, just loads of stuff. So I'm gonna have to do my best to go through the, like I said, go through the criteria of everything and see if there's anything that kind of interacts. Starting with Grimm. So Grimm is, as his name would suggest, he's the Grim Reaper. He has been the Grim Reaper for, well, see, there's a lot of inconsistency within the show. He stated that he's been the Grim Reaper for 1.4 million years, I believe he says, but then he also shows up in ancient Egypt, which was, in his words, before he became the Grim Reaper, and in caveman times, which is before he became the Grim Reaper. So the it's not really meshing there. The most agreed upon backstory is the Wrath of the Spider Queen backstory, where he in high school, became the Grim Reaper via a contest, like a class poll. But they also show in backstories of his dad wanting to become the Grim Reaper, so it's kind of wonky there. But point is, he's definitely been alive for over 1 million years, and in that time he has been doing magic to some degree. Now the main source of his powers as the Grim Reaper are his scythe, or is his scythe rather, and this, he can pretty much do whatever he wants with this, within some very specific confines. On one hand, his powers are intention based, right? So because he signed the magical contract with Billy and Mandy, he physically cannot leave Billy's house with the intention of never returning. If he does, he'll be stripped of his powers and spend the rest of his life in underworld jail. A lot of his other abilities are based off of what he intends to do with them. So he's had his head cut off with his own scythe, and he was able to put it back on because the user didn't actually want to cut his head off, right? That's actually another point to bring up, is that even though he is powerful to some degree, the power is really all in his scythe, and anybody can who has the scythe can basically do anything that he can do. Not everyone knows how to use it, to the point where some people have just grabbed it and used it and all sorts of chaos happened. But he does need to have the scythe like in his possession in order to use it. He's done things from like tearing holes in time and space. He's transformed people into like giant monsters. He's shrunk people. He's given people, he's like bestowed powers onto people. He's killed, he's cured sicknesses. He's given the powers over the forces of life and death, right? Which means not only can he just like kill at will, basically, he doesn't actually have to cut someone's head off, but he also can prevent others from dying. This was shown when he was able to physically go into the world of hourglasses, where people's time are kept, and add more time. But then it's also stated later that he chooses his targets specifically, and he doesn't like pick someone whose time is up. So he kind of decides when their time is up. Fun fact though, the scythe is not his most powerful magical artifact, at least not the ones that he's been exposed to. He keeps a trunk filled with the more dangerous artifacts that he's encountered in his life. One of which being, what was it called? It was like the terror something. It was an item that basically made you like live your worst nightmares. And he was immune to this because, in his words, he has to live his worst nightmare every day living with Billy and Mandy. So that's actually also really cool how he's just completely immune to completely immune to like this eldritch device that breaks your mind. But he's also dealt with other incredibly supernatural beings. He supposedly went to school with Santa Claus. He is idolized by what is his name? The Pain Knight or Lord Pain, who rules over the realm of pain, which is just what it sounds like. They manage all pain everywhere. The Spider Queen, the goddess of chaos, Eris, the boogeyman himself, like, yeah, all of these. He dwells in high and low places, so he's not a character to be trifled with. However, he does get, because of his deal with Billy and Mandy, he can't just kill them, so he ends up being the punching bag. But if you remove that stipulation, he's basically able to do whatever he wants. Moving on to Beetlejuice. Okay, this is a tough one. So there's multiple different continuities, but they all pretty much stem from the original movie. I believe he was a grave robber in, what was it, like the 1800s, who was killed so that somebody else could have eternal life, so his wife could have eternal life. And he essentially just became a ghost, right? Or a revenant. I don't know what you would refer to him as, I specifically. But yeah, no, he is he's a dead guy, and he has like all powers emanating of the afterlife, essentially. I mean, like I said, you got reality manipulation, teleportation, transmutation, like just whatever you can name, he can do. However, depending on which, if we're pulling from all sources here, there's some caveats to his abilities. A, by his own admission, he's very bad at cooperating with others. That's considered his biggest weakness, quote unquote. Right? So if anyone else is involved with his endeavor, it's pretty much doomed to fail. Secondly, he's very prone to a lot of underworld illnesses. Apparently, he's survived pretty much every human illness ever, including things like the Black Plague and whatnot. But he's apparently still recovering from werewolf's disease. He's gotten like a myriad of other underworld illnesses that have just like made his powers act up in ways that he didn't want. Another issue is that while he can't be killed in the traditional sense, his powers do not work unless he is completely intact. So if he loses a limb, or if he if his head flies off or something, he can't use any powers anymore. And then another cool aspect of his power is that he's supposed, like, this was more in the animated series, but again, since that was based off of the movie, I think you would probably take it into consideration. He does seem to have, and this might just be his, kind of his nature of being carefree and mindless. He does seem to not completely control he does seem to not be in complete control of his power, or rather, his power can kind of act up when he doesn't want them to. Most notably, again, in the animated series, if he ever made like a pun, his powers would make it come to life, like literally. So if he said he was cracking up, he would literally fall to pieces, and he would have no way of controlling it, right? If he said, I'm all tied up at the moment, he would just become tied up, Like, anytime he uses a figure of speech, it becomes, it comes into being whether he wants it to or not. So and we have seen him mess up his magic before in the movie. Like, I think he was looking for, he's taking them through the afterlife, and he's like, not this one, not this one, not this one. So it seems that he does have some issues actually controlling his powers, or like using them correctly from time to time. So getting into a fight between these two, you almost have to just ignore what they can do, because they both can pretty much do anything, right? And you have to pretty much say what they're definitely not able to do. Who has the more limitations here, but also who is capable of actually killing the other. Both of these characters that we're aware of can't truly die. Grimm's been harmed. He's been even subjected to poison before, but even though he's just a skeleton, but he doesn't die from anything. And we've even seen him reduced to like a pile of bones before, which is just what he is, just not connected. And like I said, Beetlejuice can't really die from being beheaded, but it will cause his powers to not really function. And the same would pretty much go for Grimm, because he wouldn't be able to hold his scythe. So I guess this fight is pretty much, first to dismember, but, you could maybe trap one of them in, we have seen both of these characters, like, Grimm is susceptible to other magical forces. Like, again, he is not the elite magical force. He is, he's bound by his contract with Billy and Mandy, and he will go to underworld jail where he's powerless, right? His powers can be removed by other, magical beings. But it seems to be like a hierarchy thing. That being said, Beetlejuice also has his curse, right? Where if you say his name 3 times, he appears, but if you say it 3 times again, he disappears. So, and he gets sent back to the afterlife. So that's maybe also something to take into consideration, but really, Grimm's biggest weakness seems to be losing his scythe, but Beetlejuice's biggest weakness seems to be A, not completely controlling his powers, B, not being able to, well, I guess that's Grimm's weakness too, is not being able to use his powers while dismembered, and B, just basically his personality. This is really difficult. We've seen Grimm open up, like, the gates of the underworld before and, like, trap someone in it, but even then, that was the boogeyman, and he eventually got out, and it wasn't shown to be any huge effort, so it must just be like, I'm sending you somewhere and you're gonna have to get back yourself. I don't know. Reliance on a weapon in a huge magical fight, or reliance on your own inconsistent powers. That's actually, I mean, Beetlejuice just needs to take the scythe. Then game over, right? But at the same time, can he do that when his own abilities aren't always cooperative? But then again, can either of these two really kill each other? I would say, okay, because Grimm becomes powerless, and we've seen Grimm, well, no, I can't even say that, because like I said, we've seen Grimm poisoned, but we've seen Beetlejuice, like, he talks about how many illnesses he has, which all of those affect him. So, oh, you know what? The other magical items. Yeah, he's got Pandora's box. He's got the nightmare thing. He's got a bunch of different magical items that he can access without the scythe that are actually considered to be more dangerous than the scythe. He could probably, shit, I can't believe I forgot about that. He could probably trap Beetlejuice in Pandora's box, or he could, like, just make him live a nightmare his entire time, right? He could, yeah, like, those I think probably give him the advantage. Yeah, okay, so there we go. Unless I'm forgetting something else, I would probably say, like, even though Grimm has to use magical items to, get the job done, they're a lot more consistent than Beetlejuice's powers are. And yeah, Grimm gets his scythe stolen all the time, but it's always like because of Billy and Mandy, who he can't, who he can't like disobey, and it's always their fault his scythe gets stolen most of the time. So yeah, I did not think this was gonna happen, honestly. Going into this, I thought it was gonna be Beetlejuice, but over just looking into it, I'm gonna go with Grimm. Yeah, I think Grimm's got this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Next week I'll try to have something I didn't just slap together. Verbal Engine 95. See ya.